morning, everyone. We're going to start today with a hymn sing. We're going to do a few hymns from the gray and the teal hymnal. But I'd like to start with number 95. There is more love somewhere, number 95. And if any of the choir wants to come and help out, and if we could get someone to come, a choir member to sing at the mic for the live stream folks at home, that would be great.
All my memories of love. 336. 336.
Among the rushes tall seems there's room for mine on these branches free. And the sky above the tree, whether wet or bright, is my ease and comforting, my good news and life.
Just to do one more quick one. It's 1038 in the teal hymnal. This is a chant-like piece based on the 23rd Psalm, as adapted by Bobby McFerrin. And we could have the choir maybe come up and turn around like we did.
Good morning. Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill, Unitarian Universalist. My name is Larry Ross, and I am a member of the Worship Associates Ministry here at the church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you've arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. I especially want to welcome any visitors or newcomers to our church and call your attention to the special note for you, welcome guests and newcomers, on the back side of the order of service. Our minister is the Reverend Tom Belote. Our preacher today is Sarah Clark-Farnell. Sarah is a member of this church and a divinity student at the Chicago Theological Seminary. She is training to be a hospital chaplain. For those attending online, a link to the order of service was provided in this morning's email, as well as the words to the hymns. We are masking inside on Sunday mornings and in the outdoor spaces as a way of striving to be an inclusive community. The courtyard is mask optional. Coffee and tea will be available outdoors today in the courtyard. The online Sunday small group social at 12:30 will be hosted by Rachel Rose. The Zoom link is in the weekly announcements and this morning's email. And this would be a good time to turn off or silence any cell phones during our service to maintain a worshipful experience. Please rise and body your spirit to sing the opening hymn, number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. The opening words this morning are by Teresa Soto. Bring your broken hallelujah here. Bring your broken hallelujah here. and bring the large one that is beyond repair. Bring the small one that's too soft to share. Bring your broken hallelujah here. I know that people have told you that before you can give, you have to get yourself together. They overstated the value of perfection a lot, or they forgot. You are the gift. We all bring some broken things, songs and dreams and long lost hopes. But here, together, we reach within. As a community, we begin again, and from the pieces, we will build something new. There is work that only you can do. We wait for you. And as Sarah lights the chalice, please join with me in the chalice reading. You who feel your heart is breaking, come in. You who are confused and wondering, come in. You who are angry, in pain, and not wanting to be here, come in. For here in this place, we can be together. May it be so. Each week, we hold a time in our worship service for the sharing of significant joys and sorrows. If you have a personal joy or sorrow, please come forward, place a stone in the water, and speak your name into the microphone, and briefly share your joy or sorrow. Let us enter into this time of tenderness and trust. I have the first stone. I received a call from Reverend Tom this morning, asking me to place a stone for Leila Berry. Leila passed away early this morning at a nursing home in where she had been living. We will all miss Leila, a longtime dedicated member of our church community. Their family plans to hold a graveside service in the next couple of days, and we will have a time together as a church and remember Leila in a few weeks' time. Watch for an all church email with information about these services.
I'm Deborah Klinger. This is Glenn Meerbach. We have a bunch of joys. We went down to New Orleans and visited our adult child Eden and their partner Amber for the first time down there since before COVID, and they are turning 27 today. And our 30th wedding anniversary will be Friday the 22nd, and we're going to take a 2-week vacation for the first time since the pandemic. Anything you want to add, honey? That's it. That's it? Okay.
Hi, I'm Jenna Kaizen. I also have a joy. On April 7th, my dad, who had been otherwise healthy, went into the hospital for some surgery, intestinal surgery, and he almost died. I rushed up there on the 13th of April, expecting to say goodbye to my dad. While I was there, he had a cardiac arrest and was resuscitated. Yesterday, he went home.
Hi, I'm Caroline Sherman. I have a great joy. First of all, I'm really happy to be here because I've been coming and going, but I'm so happy to be here today with you and to share my joy, which is that our daughter, Margot, who is 26 years old, who's been living in another country, Chile, is decided to return to the United States, and I meet her at the airport on Monday.
Hi, I'm Sam Brooks, and do you remember when the Chicago Cubs won the pennant? Right, okay, and you remember who the biggest cheerleader was? Charlie Cass. Okay, he figures they're not going to win it again this century, and he's checking out. Actually, Charlie moved to a hospice situation yesterday, and I really appreciate all those people who have visited him regularly, and would encourage you to continue to do that. However, when you visit, bring a book, because Charlie's not going to respond, but he might know you're there. So, thank you very much. And I have his address, and I'll be out in the courtyard if anyone wants to get that address.
Good morning, I'm Susan Lindholm, and my 2 stones of lament are one for my mother, who tomorrow will be 3 years since she passed away in hospice. She was on her 23rd day with no liquid whatsoever, no water, nothing. But she was strong and just didn't want to say goodbye, and she finally just did. And the other is for Charlie, who I have been grateful to go and visit to, and praying that he's feeling great peace and love around him.
I'm Steve Warshaw, and I have two joys. One of them is the choir is singing my very favorite song we have ever sung later in this service. And the second one, believe it or not, is even better. Our daughter and 3 granddaughters are moving from Texas to the Triangle. They've been en route for the past 4 days. They arrived today, and it's a time of celebration.
The last stone is for all those joys and sorrows this morning that were unspoken, but that live in our hearts and are no less real.
Our meditation reading is Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clear blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Now will you join me for our meditation hymn, number 127 in the gray hymnal, I Can See Another's Woe.
We have 2 readings this morning. The first is by Jan Richardson, Blessing in the Anger. You might think it would come with a clamoring, a clashing, clanging around in heavy boots, hollering, hot in its rage. What it does not tell you is how quietly it loves to bear itself towards us, hardly uttering a word, until it shows up with such suddenness, splintering into the broken pieces on the floor, the dent in the wall, the hole torn in what had once been whole. and no one there to witness the damage, no one to sweep away the shards, which is why the anger comes at all. Let it be no stranger. Let it be messenger, come to tell us what we most need to know, hard though its words may be to hear. Trust, even when you cannot believe it, that it will carry its own consolations, that it knows what to do with what it has shattered. Trust that the other face of anger is courage, that it holds the key to your secret strength, that it lights fire it offers, will light your way. The second reading is Jeremiah 31:15. A voice is heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel is weeping for her children. She refuses to be comforted for her children because they are no more.
Bitter weeping, anger, helplessness, despair, grief, complaint, protest. These are all aspects of an ancient practice known as lament. Today, I want to talk about lament and why I believe it is a skill we must practice and develop together in community. So what exactly is lament? Lament usually contains at least two parts. The first is a protest of unfair, unjust, and painful conditions. The second part is a petition for help, for hope, or for some sort of intervention. Lament is perhaps best known to us through the Christian and Jewish scriptures, particularly through the Psalms, but it is actually a much older practice. Examples of lament date back to the ancient Near East from more than 4,000 years ago. For example, a pagan lament titled The Sumerian Prayer of Lamentation to Ishtar reads in part, "I am beaten down, and so I weep bitterly. While sickness, headache, loss, and destruction are provided for me, so are fixed upon me terror, disdain, and fullness of wrath, anger, choler, and indignation of gods and men. I have to expect, O my lady, dark days, gloomy months, and years of trouble. Death and trouble are bringing me to an end." Dark days, gloomy months, and years of trouble. Lament does not shy away from the hard stuff. Biblical scholars Kathleen Billman and Daniel Miglior call lament an unsettling practice. They make the case that lament is unsettling because folks are uncomfortable complaining to God. However, I don't think this holds true exactly for UUs. I actually think we are pretty comfortable, maybe not with complaining, but certainly with protesting injustice and suffering. To whom we protest varies, of course. Some of us protest to God or gods. Some of us protest to spirit. All of us protest systems of oppression and empire. So no, we UUs are not uncomfortable with protest. However, I believe there is another reason we may find lament unsettling, and this is because the dominant culture in the United States has a deep aversion to grief, pain, and suffering. This aversion often manifests itself in our responses to those in pain. Often our first instinct is to try and cheer the sufferer up. It's not that bad. It'll get better. It could be worse. At least this other bad thing didn't happen. Kate Bowler calls this bright-siding, as in, look on the bright side. She says, "I hate bright-siding because I would never want someone who's suffering to feel the burden of positivity." The burden of positivity, unfortunately, leaks into our faith tradition as well. Miriam Renaud, a UU minister, writes about her experience witnessing the environmental devastation in a coal mining region in Illinois. She writes, "As I lamented what I discovered during my trip, I realized that a ritual of lament would help me move forward and decide on next steps. But where and how? Such rituals are not a regular part of worship services of most Unitarian Universalist congregations. She writes, though raised a UU and now a community minister, I could not recall any recurring, congregation-wide catch-all ritual of lament. Not a single hymn or reading in the widely used UU hymnal, Singing the Living Tradition, is categorized as a lament. Now, as a congregation, I think we actually have a leg up in the practice of lament. We do joys and sorrows. We have a yearly service of remembrance for those we've lost. And last year, Glenn led an entire service of songs of grief and loss. So I certainly think we are headed in the right direction. Still, I believe we can continue to grow and expand these practices. I am so passionate about the practice of lament because of my own experience with lament, or more accurately, with the lack of lament. I want to share a little bit of my own story with you. The first thing you need to know is that I have a deep-seated aversion to vulnerability. I do not like it when other people see me in pain. This aversion is so entrenched that I once slipped on the edge of a pool, whacked my thigh against the side, and popped back up like nothing happened, even though I was left with a bruise the size of my hand. I just couldn't let anyone see how much pain I was in. There's a line in an Ani DeFranco song that says, as bad as I am proud of the fact that I am worse than I seem. And that was basically me. Now, imagine me walking around the world with this extreme aversion to vulnerability when the unthinkable happens, and my sister died. She died from cancer at the age of 29 after a 2-year battle with the disease. It was the most excruciatingly painful experience of my life, and I was completely unprepared for it. Now, to be honest, I was never going to be prepared for something like that happening. But there's being prepared, and then there's the opposite of being prepared. Maybe unequipped is a better word. I was completely unequipped for the pain and vulnerability of grief. I am convinced that had I had access to a practice of lament and experience with lament, that my grief journey would have been not better exactly, but at least not made worse. And perhaps all we can hope for when faced with the deepest of griefs is that our ways of being in the world at least don't make things worse. This is why I am so passionate about creating a culture of lament within our own congregation, so that we are better equipped to weather the worst of life. Because the worst happens, and I want us to be a place where we can be honest about our pain, a place where no one is proud that they are worse than they seem. This is why I believe we must practice lament. Grief, pain, and vulnerability are simply not languages that most of us are fluent in. Lament is so important because it offers a way to soothe grief and pain. In the Christian and Jewish traditions, there is the expectation that God will hear and ultimately answer these prayers of lament. In the UU tradition, by contrast, where does our hope come from? I offer 2 suggestions. The first is that there is something inherently healing in the act of lament itself. As Billman and Miglior explain, those who lament dare to name the brokenness of reality rather than denying it. They refuse to pretend it is other than it is. They want nothing to do with empty consolations. At the same time, they refuse to resign themselves to the given. Like Rachel mourning for her children who are no more, they refuse to be consoled apart from the transformation, not only of their own lives, but of a world in pain. It is counterintuitive, but there is something comforting about refusing to be comforted. I think this is because the act of telling the truth is a radical and healing act. It is healing to say, what has happened or is happening is so hard, so bad, so sad, so unfair, that nothing anyone can say or do will comfort me. And somehow, in telling this truth, a magic happens and comfort sneaks its way in, however fleeting. What Jan Richardson writes of anger applies to lament as well. Trust, even when you cannot believe it, that it will carry its own consolations, that it knows what to do with what has shattered. The second place I find hope in lament is in community. When lament is communal, we can better know each other. We can better know each other's pain, and we can better be of help to those who are suffering. Even if that help, maybe especially if that help, comes simply through seeing each other in the fullness of our pain and sorrow. Nicholas Walterstorff is a writer and father whose son died in a climbing accident. He writes of grief, "If you think your task as comforter is to tell me that really, all things considered, it's not so bad, you do not sit with me in my grief, but place yourself off in the distance away from me. Over there, you are of no help. What I need to hear from you is that you recognize how painful it is. I need to hear from you that you are with me in my desperation. To comfort me, you have to come close. Come sit beside me on my mourning bench." When we lament as a community, we build a mourning bench together. We say to each other, our griefs and our losses are important. Instead of setting us apart, our pain and suffering bring us together. So now, let's come close and build the mourning bench together. Let us lament. A few weeks ago, I posted in our Facebook group asking people to share what they are grieving. Now, I will read these responses. I will pause after each one, and we will respond together. Spirit, hear our cry. Spirit of life, great love, wild mystery, we carry so much pain in our hearts and bodies. We cry out to you for family members who have died. Spirit, hear our cry. For the loss of reproductive rights and bodily autonomy. Spirit, hear our cry. For the eroding of democracy. Spirit, hear our cry. For our grown children who are navigating a world of many dangers, including the pandemic, gun violence, financial struggles, climate change, and political turmoil. Spirit, hear our cry. For the girls and other pregnant young people who won't graduate high school, won't go to college, and won't enter the workforce due to forced pregnancy. Spirit, hear our cry. For family structures that are not what we dreamed of. Spirit, hear our cry. For time passing, relationships ending, and roads not taken. Spirit, hear our cry. And for so many other griefs that remain unspoken. Spirit, hear our cry. Hear our cry and salve our pain. May we take care of ourselves and each other. May we find comfort and ease. May it be so. Amen.
We now take an offering that allows us to exercise our generosity of spirit that will support this church and its many ministries. The gifts of the congregation will be most greatly received. Baskets are being sent through the congregation. Please use the QR code on the back of your order of service for electronic gifts. If viewing online, please offer your gift by going to the church website.
I just want to introduce this piece, Requiem. It was written by a songwriter, Eliza Gilkison, and it was a response to the devastating Asian tsunami of 2004, and an invocation of compassion and a song of prayer and comfort. And it was arranged by Craig Hella Johnson.
Please rise in body or spirit and sing the closing hymn 1021 in your teal hymnal, Lean on Me. Let's remain standing. While Sarah extinguishes the flame, please join me in reading the words to extinguish the flame in today's order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts again. And before we, again, right? Lean on me. Before we sing Shalom, I'd like to have you acknowledge the members of this congregation who made this service so wonderful. So, as we sing Shalom, you can cross your arms if you don't want to reach out. And